Well, after 6 years, it's finally here, for better or worse. Hi, this is Misha, and this is very much an initial thoughts preview of the Polish PM-63c. And this is yet another offering from our friends Interarms. This is one that's been kind of teased and advertised since, I don't know, 2013. Not long after they did their PPS-43. Sorry guys, that's been a very long day here and the weather is crummy. We'll get to this a bit. What these ship with. You get one 15-round mag, which was originally made for the military, is a holster mag, so the gun can be compact. Then you get one of the standard 25-round mags. You get the full cleaning kit, which is actually pretty nice. You get the Polish oiler, which they use for quite a few different guns. Then you also get this cleaning tool, which has some screwdriver and stuff on the end, which is actually pretty welcome. I didn't have this before. You've got the brush, and you've also got the standard end piece. Then you get your manual. And then this comes with this holster. Now also I have here a sling, which this did not come with. This came with my parts kit. And this is my best guess for how to attach it. If someone actually knows, please share. This is the only place I could find that looked halfway appropriate, was this place on the grip here. Best guess. And I also have a mag pouch that came with my kits. We'll look at this in a bit. This holds the standard complement of 3 25-round mags, and the cleaning kit fits in here. And that was pretty much the loadout they would issue these with. 3 of the big mags and 1 of the little. So, you know, you're looking at about 90 rounds for this gun. Now, we're of course going to do a full video. We're planning to go to the range tomorrow with this, but the weather is pretty iffy, so I thought, you know, I want to give something before the weekend. So we'll take a little look at this. We're also going to compare it to a parts kit I've got over here. Kind of see what parts look original. And which will obviously be from the new manufacturer. So let's get this guy out of the holster and see what we've got. Alrighty. Here we are. Unholstered and ready to go. Also went ahead, put in the 25-round mag so you can see it here. It doesn't stick out too far. This whole gun is very compact. Of course, now it only fires from the closed bolt. And you know how one-handed these videos are, but luckily this gun is actually meant to be charged one-handed. Or at least it can be. Holds back on an empty mag. And if you would like to keep it open, there is a catch here. Got a heel-mounted release there. Not many other really controls on this guy. I go forward. It's hammer fired. Trigger is actually pretty decent. Our stock is, of course, welded in the back. And our front foregrip is screwed closed. This scoop in front actually serves quite a few purposes. One is so you can cock it single-handed like I just did. Another, it acts as a muzzle brake of sorts. And also it protects the hand from getting too far in front of the muzzle. We have a pretty standard front blade sight. We have a 2-position flip rear. Trigger. And that is really it. There's not a lot of controls or anything. 6-inch chrome line barrel. Definitely more of a machine pistol than a true submachine gun. Like I said, we've got a 3-cell pouch here. The cleaning kit has its own little pocket. It's very compact, but it's all in there. That has both brushes, well, the one brush, the one jag, the cleaning rod / multi-tool, and the standard oiler. That's your typical Polish anti-mold. But again, remember, those aren't coming with the guns, but they are pretty readily available on the surplus market. So yeah, the PM-63 rack semi-auto is finally here. So now let's take it apart and compare it with the parts kit over there. Now I really can't disassemble one-handed, so I'll have to stop. It's pretty straightforward once you get used to it. Basically, you will lock the slide back, putting your catch in the, there's kind of a takedown position that this has. Yeah, like I said, it's hard to do anything one-handed here, guys. Anyway, you put it in there, and then your barrel has ribbing, kind of like an old Browning pistol where you can rotate it. Let me see if I can do something for you guys. See if I can at least press it back. There we go. You can see the barrel here. You use this to rotate it. And then once it's rotated 90 degrees, you let off your catch. And that comes forward, and your barrel slide and recoil mechanism come off the top, and that's pretty much it for field stripping. Well, let's get to it, shall we? Well, let's compare this. This side looks good, doesn't it? But then we get to the frame. And then this poor barrel. these are how the Circle 11 PM-63 parts kits have come in. Sad to say, they were actually in really nice condition. This is a 74. And we've got, where is it? Bag of random small parts. Really, most of what makes this complicated internally is the rate reducer. The rest of the gun's pretty straightforward. Simple open bolt gun. Got a shoulder stock that retracts out. The butt plate flips around. It is pretty useless. Then we have a foregrip, which folds down. Less useless. The problem with this is they tended to get loose. These kits have been available for a few years. Most people have held off putting them together because, one, the frame is pretty well torched. Obviously this bottom part's easy to put together. This back bit here, where there's two cuts very close together, is a little difficult. Front section up here. But on top of that, you have to convert it from open bolt to closed, and then some kind of semi-auto firing system. Originally, this had a fixed firing pin, and as you see, this is pretty much just mass back here. There's not really much in the way of internals, and that doesn't leave a lot of space. Well, after being teased for 6 some odd years, the Pioneer Arms PM-63cs finally hit right before SHOT Show 2019. So here's one more or less disassembled. What they've done, they've made it a hammer firing system, obviously from a closed bolt. As you see, it does have the original stock. In fact, the latch even works, unlike their earlier PPS 43s. And it's tack welded in the closed position. For the foregrip, they took, oh guys, where's my foregrip? I threw it on here somewhere. There it is. They took an original and they pinned it closed. The button is locked in the closed position. Honestly, feels like they might have just glued it or epoxied it. But you can't press it. And they took the original short screw that held it onto the frame, and they just made it a long screw through the bottom. Thus, it's no longer a folding vertical grip. The slides on these are original. This is one part we know for sure. This is a 68, Circle 11, Oxnick Radom. Externally, it's pretty well the same. Of course, it fires from the closed position. And what they did, they machined a small channel for that hammer inside, and they put a spring-loaded firing pin in there as well. The barrel is interesting. People have said these are original Radom barrels. The issue is they are marked Pioneer Arms. But this could have been done later. And these could be original because the profiling, just the way they're done, the muzzle, the notches, the chamber, looks really authentic. Plus where the original Radom markings would have been over the chamber, it's kind of got areas that feel machined a little flat. Don't know. We'll see. One thing I thought was kind of interesting, for a recoil spring, they're using the original. Obviously it doesn't have the rate reducer and all that, but it does have the original guide here and the spring. Usually when you do these semi-auto conversions you can't use the original, but obviously they thought they could. This uses the original pistol grip. It's not really Bakelite, it's way too soft for that. It's definitely a plastic polymer material. There's a question of how much, if any, of this frame is original 60s, 70s production Radom. I can tell you right off the bat, this front is not. That's because it doesn't have the slot for the rate reducer at all. And I have a feeling that slot is what the ATF is kind of considering the evil machine gun feature for these guns. If you look at this demilled here, you can see the slot. Here's the front section. See that cutout there? So that definitively is a new production piece. However, as we get towards the back, in the shoulder stock area and the magwell area, it starts to look more and more original. And some people have said they see some original type proof markings back there. Definitely something worth looking into for the future. As I said in the beginning, this is an extreme preliminary look. But I had this disassembled. Why, you might ask? Well, I was trying to get it apart, and pretty much disassembling it as you would the machine gun version. But of course the machine gun doesn't have a hammer firing system. So when I got to the point where I rotated the safety to take the slide off, it didn't want to come. It was resisting. And I wasn't sure if it was hammer or striker fired, and if it were striker, a lot of conversions need you to pull the trigger, you know, like a Glock, but that's even with a lot of the semi-auto conversions, you need to do that to let tension off a spring. So I pulled the trigger. Don't do that. When you do that, it flies forward and internally gets under your bolt and kind of jams things up. You can't put it back together and you can't take it totally apart. The good news is, all you really have to do is take your pistol grip off, get into this hollow, and then come up through the magwell and just push your hammer back into the cocked position. This is something I've had to do more than once on a lot of my custom semi-auto conversions. So yeah, I was half expecting it, but I just wasn't sure how it was internally, and it's a learning experience as anything else. So I've done it so you don't have to. Do not pull the trigger. That's why I've got the lock up so it doesn't go flying forward again by accident. I can't decide if the trigger is original, modified, or not. It looks very similar to the one in the kit, but I think it's its own thing. I think it's a newly made trigger. Very obviously the hammer is newly made. So if you wanted to SBR one of these, really, after doing your paperwork, you just would have to do two things. Unweld your stock. And I wouldn't even mess with trying to restore this grip because it has a hole in it. I'd just get a different one out of a kit and use it. It'll go right on. Like I said, a preliminary look. Definitely beats trying to source a barrel and then weld back a receiver cut into 4 parts. Or 5 parts. Yeah, 5 parts. Yeesh. I mean, the welds are pretty clean on these as far as torch cuts go, but still. And yeah, it's only shooting 9x18 Makarov, so we're not looking at a super high pressure, but still yet, it's a gun. You don't want it breaking off the frame and coming back to hit you in the face. So yeah. Here's the original spring. Like I said, they're using it, which is interesting to me. And again, our little baggie of parts, mostly to do with either the sear or the rate reducer, or just pins and springs to hold things in. Alright, we'll move on. Alrighty, back together. I'm getting kind of the hang of this now. Well, it's definitely a Pioneer Arms gun. Don't expect the kind of refinement and precision that you would see from 100% Circle 11 or FB Radom. I'm going to tell you that right now. The same can be said for those PPS 43s. that said, the PPS-43s have proven to be quite good guns, especially for what they routinely cost. And they are built with a large majority of original Cold War era parts, as is this critter here. Unfortunately, whereas the PPS-43s are in the $500 to $600 range today, and at one time were as cheap as $350, but that was many moons ago and a different importer. These are not cheap. It seems like, at least for the time being, Classic Firearms is the only distributor. Centerfire Systems, a year ago, was planning to get these in, back when they were still doing more with Pioneer Arms USA. But even back then, a year ago, their retail price on their website was $13.99. And they never really got any in. Well, they never got any in, period. Not just really. Instead of going with Centerfire, Pioneer ended up going with Classic Firearms. So when they quietly released these at $7.99 last week, the price seemed great compared to what we kind of thought they would be. But then when the price was adjusted to $12.99, as much as I don't think any of us liked the additional cost, it was kind of more in line with what was originally expected. And there's a few reasons for this. I really have to figure out how this sling works. Anyone knows, please let me know. For one, only 70 or 80,000 of the PM-63s were manufactured between 1967 and 1977. So far fewer than the PPS-43. For another, a number of these were demilled and sold in the USA, like the kit we just looked at. Others were given or sold to Polish allies throughout the Cold War period. And the rumor is that Pioneer Arms was only able to get their hands on a couple of thousand kits, at least complete kits in usable, good condition. So it's a rarer gun with fewer available. On top of that, the semi-auto conversion process was much more intensive than on the PPS-43. PPS-43 is a large gun with plenty of room inside, and frankly, figuring out how to convert a tube gun or equivalent like that to a semi-auto is a well-known thing. They've been doing that for half a century. But a gun like this, an open bolt machine pistol, the conversion was kind of an unknown thing, and it did require quite a bit of engineering to make it work, and also you just don't have much space to work with in this slide. Yeah, it's kind of long, but it's also very narrow. So just much more went into this. And I think they knew this would be a niche item. The PPS-43 has kind of an appeal to World War II collectors, Polish collectors, just, reenactors. A gun like this being 9x18, it's just, yeah. So they probably knew they wouldn't sell as many, so economy of scale and all that. Plus, Pioneer prices have gone up in recent years. This is just a fact. Again, like I said, the PPS-43s were $300, $350 at one time, but that was a long time ago. The last few years, they've been $500 or $600. Is it worth it? Objectively, no. But for a Polish collector or an a Cold War collector or just a bizarre, weird collector, maybe. If this runs reliably, and that's the big thing to see. Now looking at it, I don't see any terribly worrisome points of failure. The conversion's pretty dang straightforward, and a lot of the parts are still original Circle 11. And 9x18 is a pretty forgiving round, being just straight blowback. So assuming it shoots reliably, even though the machining is not the best on the Pioneer parts, it's not the worst I've seen either, I'll be okay with it. Keep in mind though, these are using surplus mags, so you might want to get half a dozen mags, and out of those you might find one or two that just don't work right. Sometimes the springs wear out, the feed lips get tweaked and bent. Sometimes they just don't fit guns properly. We went through a lot of that with the Czech SA 24s and 26s last year. The guns themselves were pretty good, but you kind of had to find the mags that fit and that they liked best. Just something to keep in mind, that's all, guys. It is Pioneer we're dealing with, and it is classic. So a lot of people got upset about the whole price thing. I actually do think it was a sincere mistake when they priced them at $800. I don't think it was a ploy. Only because Centerfire had already previously announced a very close price to that. It did seem like an honest mistake. But that's just my opinion. I don't know for sure. And I'm not really going to sit there and apologize to Centerfire. About Centerfire to people, because I have no stake in it. I sure as hell didn't get any preferential treatment when getting mine from them. Actually, kind of quite the alternative. But I couldn't pass it up. It's neat. I have this big thing for Polish and Cold War era guns, so I just couldn't say no. So, hopefully it works okay. Hopefully the weather's good tomorrow and we can take it to the range and let you know what we find out. Well, folks, that's about it for now. Definitely tune in again very soon when we will have a full history video and hopefully a shooting video and all that good stuff. We might even bring the PAC Scorpion in 9x18 out again, because it's about the only other gun in this kind of similar class. You never know. We will see what happens tomorrow, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Anything, like, share, or subscribe. Any comments, post them below. This is Misha, and I will catch you very soon next time. It is fun to do that.